Well, hello there. Hello, hello, hello. So, I am thinking that I might start making a regular thing of GamerGate Friday where I highlight something that I've seen in GamerGate 2.0 that annoys me or not annoy or makes me happy, one of the two. And just kind of share that weekly on Fridays. Because, I mean, it looks like I've done that for like the last 2 weeks, so eh. So, hello there to whoever's here watching. Definitely appreciate it. Or not. I think that that might have actually been me having myself open it in a tab. Dang it. But yeah. So, yeah, that's odd. It says that there are 4 viewers waiting over on Rumble, but it's live, so I don't know. That seems weird. Well, if you're actually there, hello. Good, good to see you, or not see you, as the case may be. So, yeah, my cat's confused because I partially closed the door so I wouldn't be getting noise from the other room. Okay, he managed to get out, but so I wouldn't be getting noise from the other room since my wife is watching other stuff. So yeah, so this time instead of reacting to a video, I've got a couple articles that I'm going to be reading, and and I have not actually read through the articles yet, so we'll see where this takes us. Okay, so I, I'm going to start from where I actually began with this subject last night. Now, as a caveat, it from what I'm seeing this morning, it looks like Niche Gamer kind of poorly worded this. So, and I'm most likely going to be walking back some of the things I've said. I'm not going to be deleting what I've said because I don't do that, but I will be retracting and apologizing for it, assuming that this article that we're going to read is actually a good article. So, Niche Gamer said, "Well, we do agree with the base sentiment of gaming companies overplaying their hands per se. Unfortunately, we can't cover this particular story or more stories like it without potentially getting punished by the PR firms hired by those same game companies, who we have to rely on to get access to video games for review and coverage purposes, ranging from smaller devs to mid-sized operations, to even AAA companies, game companies slash publishers alike. Because a lot of those same PR people support people who hold the similar views like what Elon is referring to here. We're already having significant issues and experiencing roadblocks regarding getting access to AAA titles because we have covered the Sweet Baby Inc. stories alone. It's quite unfortunate." And the way that I read that was them saying, and what was them saying that, "Hey guys, we tried to cover Sweet Baby Inc. We got in trouble. So we're gonna put our cards on the table and say that we're just gonna be quiet now because as we because we have to do what we're told." And honestly, that ticked me off because I was like, okay, at least you're being honest about being corrupt, but you're still corrupt, which is how I read that. And so I said, "So you're more afraid of the PR companies than the gamers, so you chose against the gamers, and you want to sympathize with that with you? Fuck you. You realize gaming company has its own PR at this point?" Like I said, it, I think I may have misread that. So so, so so then, and I had a few other things to say, including, if in that if they want us to start trusting them, then they need to bring it out in the open, which it actually looks like they are doing. So, and I honestly think that they might be surprised at how much support they might receive from the community. I know that I'm not the only one that feels that way. So there's that. That's how things started yesterday. And then and here's something that I found underneath Cabrutus. And or should say underneath what Cabrutus had to say to that. Because Cabrutus says that he's sorry for you guys. If I can help with anything, let me know. And I'm Batman appeared to have the same feeling that I was having. Where he says why they're bending the knee on not covering it so they can get free shit from game companies and review them early. And then this guy called Basement Ogre, who by the way, after looking at his bio, is actually he, a writer for Niche Gamer. Says, I think you're pulling the wrong message from this. We made this statement because because first step of changing the status quo is to name the problem. This isn't a post say we're bending the knee. This post saying that we won't stay silent about it any longer. And this is part of what had me start going, wait, what's going on here? And then he says, is that, are you confirming that you're going to put your ethics and integrity first to clicks? Even if it means severing relationships, and gain the review copies? And looking at the quotes here, which it had to be quoted to be fair, because as that was posted to a Sweet Baby Ink Detected group. So since Basement Ogre isn't part of the group, he couldn't actually directly reply. And Basement Ogre says yes, and I'd go as far as to say that's always been the case. The initial tweet was poorly worded. Yes, it was very poorly worded. And invented frustrations about PR withholding key access for petty reasons. Yes, we did not. We didn't run. We didn't not run a story on Black Girl Gamers because they're scared of consequences. Our original tweet was too brief. Yes. What we did was have a discussion on how to approach it, given their litigious nature. We haven't covered it yet. As of this point, they have covered it, and that's the article that I'm about to read. Because we're doing our due diligence to report information as accurately as we can, even if we're not always the first to ride in the wave of a controversy. I can respect that. You don't need to be first. Just just be accurate and honest. And then and they says, I thank you for clearing this up. Then I'm assuming the owner Brandon Orselli will be making this similar statement soon. And in response to that, Basement Ogre says he's asleep right now, and I don't think any of us were expecting this vent post to blow up like it did. Yeah, if it was, especially if it was in fact just poorly worded, like it really is sounding at this point, they probably just thought that they were just going rah. They didn't. They probably thought they were going to get the gamers going. We've got your back and all that stuff. Because if it had come out like we aren't bending the knee, fuck you guys. We're coming out. We're going to be covering it one way or the other. They probably would have gotten a lot more support. But that's not how the tweet came out. And that's one of the things that I've always said. It it and Twitter is not a good place for nuance. So yeah, but even I'd be disappointed if we didn't have an official follow-up statement. So I say good on him. And now let us go ahead and read this black um yeah, this black girl and this black girl gamers tab. Okay. Okay. So oh, we have this article. And the title of the article is Black Girl Gamers Threatens Legal Action Against Journalists Who Covered Their Hiring Practices. And to give a little bit of background here, I was watching this a little bit as it unfolded. And and what happened was that it was at thatparkplace.com, which had WDW Pro writing, I believe. You've covered them covered Black Girl Gamers saying where they said that they were looking for black women and creators specifically to hire. And WDW Pro, that parkplace.com, was saying that that it appeared, and saying it appeared is important, and that it appeared that Black Girl Gamers is hiring in a racist way against people who weren't black and weren't male, and so Black Girl Gamers said that they were being misrepresented, and that they were going to be and that they were hiring legal counsel to go after that parkplace.com. Okay, there it, that parkplace.com is already in the clear because they didn't make a definitive statement of fact. But even worse, they said that they were going to be suing in even people who reposted that article. So of course, what did I do right after I saw that? I took the link and said, "Hi, I'm sharing this myself." Hey, hamster. Yes, I do plan to be playing Rebirth later. Probably a little bit after I finish with this stream. For the moment, though, I'm having fun taking the piss out of GamerGate stuff, and hopefully, with this article I'm about to read, find some games journalists that have integrity, would which will make me very happy if that's actually the case. Very, very happy. So now let's see what these guys have to say. So, Black Girl Gamers has threatened legal action against That Park Place, a news website that covers pop culture. Yep, that's very accurate so far. Good on you. In the recent article titled Forspoken Consultant Black Girl Gamers appears to discriminate in their hiring practices while claiming they are being harassed. Yeah, I didn't remember the exact name of it, but I pretty much got that right off memory. The site alleged that Black Girl Gamers participated in discriminatory hiring practices. We won't tell you that they're being discriminatory, but what we will do is present some facts and allow you to draw your own conclusions. Thanks to Mark Kern for investigating on his Twitter. Mark Kern is also the person known as Grums on Twitter, by the way. And I don't mind them not taking a stand on whether they're being discriminatory or not, as long as they're about to show what is actually out there. As someone pointed out to me on Twitter, it is the part of the journalists not to take a side. It is the part of the journalists to act to report neutrally. Hey, Ozzy. Yes, yes, I do plan to play. Yes, I do plan to play Rebirth later. What after I'm done with this stream, in fact. So, so as I was saying, in 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 I've got no problem if they leave it to us to decide what the conclusions are, as long as they give us accurate information. Number one, Black Girl Gamers has informally solicited applications while dictating applicants' race and gender identity. A tweet casting out a net for black women content creators isn't necessarily indicative of discriminatory hiring practices, but it does cast suspicions on what qualifications Black Girl Gamers requires to be given opportunities. Yes, 100% that. It is not proof of overall, but that's also why it's important that parkplace.com said appears to and didn't say it as a statement of fact. But back on February 19th, the organization appeared to post a job opportunity on X limiting in the applicants based on race and gender. The organization wrote on, looking for Black women content creators that make Dungeons and Dragons and content for some potential brand work. Hit us up. So that's from the Park Place his article, if I understand correctly. Number two, Black Girl Gamers' non-discriminatory hiring practices are not readily available. Mark Curtin investigated Black Girl Gamers' website and discovered that job listings are hidden behind a password-protected portal that requires applicants to individually receive access from a Black Girl Gamer liaison. This is in spite of the fact that Black Girl Gamers claim their hiring practices are readily available. I had not caught that part. So Grums, Mark Kern, says Black Girl Gamer and it further claims that allegations of discriminatory hiring by the Park Place are false, in that Black Girl Gamer has contracted with freelancers of all races, genders, sexual orientation, religions, and ethnic backgrounds, but that some cannot be disclosed due to NDAs. But Black Girl Gamers goes on to say, we're addressing the recent allegations published on that parkplace.com about discriminatory hiring practices within Black Girl Gamers. These claims are false and were made without prior fact checking or verification from us or our representatives. Oh, and by the way, whenever you see something, especially from an official organization where this is grayed out, so nobody can directly respond, you're looking at bullshit. I mean, there may be a 1% chance that you're not, but you're pretty much looking at bullshit. Black Girl Gamers operates as a contracting organization that collaborates with both freelancers and content creators from all backgrounds to work on various projects and initiatives to amplify underrepresented voices in gaming and make the community more inclusive. Then Grums follows up to say, Black Girl Gamers goes on to state that evidence of their non-discriminatory hiring practices is readily available and easily searchable. So I did some searches for Black Girl Gamers and hiring policy or consultant and was not able to find anything. In fact, the website has no published hiring policy that I could find. Oops. Show this tab instead. It has no published hiring policy that I could find. In fact, job postings is limited, are password protected, and require that you first reach out to Black Girl Gamers to obtain access. This does not seem easily searchable. Furthermore, the Black Girl Gamer website actually claims to be 100% minority operated. Yay. I've seen minority owned, but what does minority operated mean? It's unclear if they mean 100% management or 100% of all staff. The 100% minority operated claim, the sealed job board, and the lack of a hiring policy on their website seems to contradict their claims that their hiring practices being readily available and easily searchable. So yeah. Honestly, this does not look good for them in trying to refute the claim. So just to finish his thread, Black Girl Gamers is a consulting company founded by J. Ann Lopez and works as a consultant with gaming companies to change the way people think about gaming. They have worked with numerous gaming companies, including Meta, Ubisoft, and Square Enix, where they consulted on the Dune Forsaken title, Forsaken was a game that tanked so hard that Square Enix had to close the studio. Black Girl Gamers is so upset that they are now threatening to sue anyone who shares the information in that Park Place's article or disseminates in any way. So will they prevail? I'm not an attorney, so the following is an opinion. It is my opinion that defamation cases are very difficult to prove in general, especially against a journalist. Yeah, the news outlet here is not even claiming that the discriminatory hiring is in fact but speculation, and that was my point to begin with. Hey, Nihilus, for me, for I am Batman who laughs. Oh, so that's why Assassin's Creed sucks now. Yeah, unfortunately, it's at least part. It's at least part of it. I have heard some stuff about oh, it's somebody from Sweet Baby Inc. being part of the marketing for Mass Effect for Mass Effect Andromeda too. Actually no, it wasn't Mass Effect I was thinking of. I was thinking it was Deus Ex. I couldn't find confirmation for that though, which is why I didn't actually show that to you. Yeah, so now number 3, Black Girl Gamers appears to be 100% minority operated. Owned is one thing, operated is another. Being 100% minority operated implies that no white people exist in any position within the company. What does the word diversity mean again? Okay, I'm actually liking Niche Gamer. I am going to need to retract what I had to say about them last night. This is good. This is them actually posting the facts. Yay. While private online Black Girl Gamers runs a discriminatory online community. While private online communities are free to set their own requirements and boundaries, especially if they're self-hosted, it's likely that Black Girl Gamers privileges members of its discriminatory private company in terms of access to job opportunities. So they also run a community, but but you must apply and can join if you self-identify as a man. Okay, that one I honestly don't really care about all that much. But it's good that they put it. But it's good that they point this out. On one last note, that Park Place has responded to Black Girl Gamers' implication of legal action by affirming their commitment to good faith journalistic efforts, saying that Park Place has written about this public interest story involving public entities as part of a good faith journalistic effort. That Park Place, at time of publication and to the best of our knowledge, has never received any request for edit, redaction, modification, or deletion of articles mentioned in this piece. We strive for accuracy within our coverage, even when we are opining in public appearance perceptions. Cool. Hey, yeah. I am going to start following Niche Gamer and not out of hate watching. I'm interested in seeing what they have to say. And they said something about having run a Sweet Baby Inc. article prior to this, so I might look into that. So good on them. Good on them. Niche Gamer, good job. Now, now for a somewhat different article. This one is written by somebody from Take This, that that company, think tank, whatever, that is in part funded by Homeland Security. And this one I do not expect to be anywhere near as happy with. I mean, I would be shocked if I am. So, silence from Sony, Remedy, and other studios could worsen harassment campaign. We're already off to a great start with this particular title. the fact that that they're calling in GamerGate a harassment campaign is funny. It's funny all on its own because it feels a lot more like the GamerGaters are the ones being harassed. So, Dr. Rachel Coward of Take This breaks down how extremist groups take advantage of the reluctance of some companies to stand up to online harassment. You see, that's the funny thing. They don't like having to stand up to online harassment. They don't like having to stand up to the harassment of mainstream media and the games journalists in general. When they're calling him the bad when they're calling them the bad people for not bending the knee. So I find that particularly amusing. At a glance, a recent harassment campaign targeting narrative consultancy firm Sweet Baby Inc. has been met with silence by its partners. This is despite the campaign's organizers spreading misinformation about how their games were made. I've covered some of that. Failing to speak up could fuel further threats and harassment, says Take This research director Dr. Rachel Coward. That sounds very close to coward. I might start calling her that during this. I don't really have a problem with calling people names when it comes to shit like this. I mean, anyone who saw me covering good old Matilda Walsh should know that. Dr. Rachel Coward is literally at the center of a mass conspiracy theory. In a conversation at the 2024 Game Developers Conference, the Game Developers Conference where there was as where there was a event where they had game developers go outside the building and scream and screech because of how bad things were. I mean, talk about childish. And they had panels about what to do. So you've been canceled. What do you do now? Yeah. So anyway, in a conversation at the 2024 Game Developers Conference, she pulled out her phone and shared an image of a red string caseboard assembled by an unnamed participant in an ongoing harassment campaign against narrative consultancy studio Sweet Baby Inc. Wait, do you mean to tell me that they actually brought out a conspiracy corkboard? That is funny. That really is funny. The conspiracy in question has to do with the mission to promote a political agenda on game developers through threats and intimidation. The agenda is supposedly that Sweet Baby and other organizations are dictating these companies include characters from diverse backgrounds in their games. You mean by showing actual proof of what these people have said? Go, you gotta love that. Oh, and at the top here, reach and convert the game industry. What do they mean by convert? Coward's name is near the center of the board. Strings connected to her video game mental health nonprofit Take This, where she serves as the research director, which is funded by Homeland Security to media outlet Kotaku, where she does not work, though she was profiled by a site in 2023. Kotaku, which is currently failing and was as instructed by their owners to make 50 game guides a week rather than in publishing the hit pieces that they'd been publishing, and which apparently has its editors in revolt. They'll say that no, we're still going to write hit pieces. Yeah, yeah. The strings link her to the United Nations, the British Parliament, and the government of Brazil. All through her membership in the Extremism in Gaming Research Network. How is this a surprise? Extremism in Gaming Research Network. Of course it's gonna link you. Are you stupid? Tangential links between these groups became hotspots for conspiratorial activity, creating an implication that Coward has influence over entire governments to push an agenda. I'm not so sure that it's that Coward has the influence over the governments. I think it's more that the governments are using her. That's more what I think. You got it backwards here, morons. Related. Are game studios suddenly abandoning black developers? I don't think so. It's much easier to target a single person than an organization, Coward explained. Since Take This spoke out against the harassment campaign and it offered resources for affected individuals, she's faced a barrage of death threats and hate mail that have shaped how she goes out in public and even navigated the game developer conference. The conference provided her with an extra security detail. Okay, this is actually funny. I expected to be getting angry in this one. This one is just Jesus. This is funny. They seem to have glommed onto me in particular because I have been doing work for the last couple of years funded by the Department of Homeland Security. Why, yes. Isn't that funny? Having your work and talking about how us gamers are violent extremists being funded by the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, sorry about that. My headset it powers off if it's not if it's been on for a half hour without actually having any sound coming through it. I forgot about that because last few times I've been reacting to stuff, so it's been and having stuff to pipe through to me. So anyway, that that research is ironically enough about online extremism in video game spaces. Gasp! Let's shock! Ah! In 2022, Cowart told game developer that rising occurrences of hate, harassment, and extremist radicalization within these spaces have personal and societal repercussions on safety and well-being, including mental health. Now she is, unfortunately, living proof of her own words. Though Coward seemed undoubtedly shaken over her experience, I doubt that highly. She had a broader concern. Individual developers at the company Sweet Baby Inc. has consulted with have spoken up in their defense, feeling even more harassment, but their employees have not. But their employers have not, because their employers don't want to be seen as anti-gamer when their customers are gamers. You motherfucking moron. GDC, the state of the game industry. I don't think I really care what you have to think about what state of the game industry is. As she mentioned in her GDC micro talk, is that kind of like a microaggression? Given shortly before we spoke, her research indicates that silence is not a consequence-free act. By the way, I'm going to say that, yeah, anything that she says probably is a microaggression to us. Just saying. It is truly unfathomable in 2024 that senior leadership has not addressed this harassment. They have become complicit in this by not speaking out, she said to the crowd. You thought they got me? No, no, not at all. I am very happy with Niche Gamer though. If you go back and watch the first part of this video, you'll understand why I was being positive. because because Niche Gamer was actually showing the facts. And so, as long as they keep doing that, they have my support. They are not bending the knee the way that I thought that they were. So I'm going to be retracting that. This article, however, is a trip. In our conversation, Coward added more context to her presentation and again urged major studios, publishers, and platform owners to step up, or the problem could become worse. Don't feed the trolls isn't always enough. That statement is actually true. That is true. However, not in the way that she's meaning it. When individual people are attacked by online harassment campaigns, going dark and not responding to the death threats and hate mail is a valid tactic, Coward says. By the way, you think that gamergaters don't get death threats and hate mail? In fact, I'm betting that niche gamer is getting death threats and hate mail due to the article I just read. But when groups on the sidelines say nothing, the consequences come quickly. The problem is that when leadership is not speaking up, it sets and reinforces cultural norms. You see, it when leadership is not speaking, and leadership at game companies is not speaking up about how we have to be anti-gamer, it sets and reinforces the cultural norm that we are making games for gamers. I mean, it the horror. Just as when leaders ignore harassment or toxicity in the workplace, ignoring it in the communities around their company presents a message of tolerance for it as well. Even when individual developers speak up, as some from both Marvel's Spider-Man 2 developer Insomniac Games and Alan Wake 2's Remedy Entertainment have they become isolated people that the campaigns can rally against. Ah, yes. So say what you want. You have. I am a huge believer in free speech. In fact, I say if you really believe in this stuff, tell everybody. That way, everybody can know where you stand, and if they stand with you, then you can get their direct support. Just be ready for people who don't support what you think. That is the two edges of the blade of free speech. Rallying the horde against individual never do wells is a powerful sensation, especially when you feel like you can legitimately bombard a person with harassment. It's why companies making these statements, and not just CEOs, is important. Coward downplayed the idea that someone like Ted Price, CEO of Insomniac Games, should make that individual stand, and that it should rather be Sony or Insomniac that send that message. Yeah, you want them to tell the gamers that they don't like you. Or Remedy Entertainment, or Ubisoft, or Rocksteady Games. These are among the many companies that have contracted with Sweet Baby for their services. Hey, I thought that you guys didn't like a, a site like Sweet Baby Inc. Detected to actually tell us who's contracted with Sweet Baby Inc. You're doing the job for them now. It's tempting to ignore ridiculous lies. Yeah, it is kind of tempting to ignore ridiculous lies, which is what a lot of us have been doing about you guys in games journalism for a long time. And that includes me. I haven't been calling out much because I've just been like, yeah, whatever. Some well-meaning developers and executives expressed to GDC that the lies fueled by the ongoing campaign were so ridiculous that responding in turn risked giving them more oxygen. It's a sentiment that comes from a well-meaning place. Let's say a game industry professional with zero ties to the victims of death threats and harassment heard the claims made by the campaign's organizers about a political agenda and instantly knew how ridiculous and hateful they sounded. Once they recognized that their peers feel the same way about the claims, they could easily assume that the claims aren't spreading or don't have an impact. And from there, they don't see a reason to say anything about it. And when they do decide to speak out on it, they look like an absolute jackass, inserting themselves into a situation they know nothing about, and has the rest of us gamers going, "What the hell are you doing here?" It's an assumption Coward says is inaccurate. It's important to understand that when these things happen, there's a weird assumption that happens online. Seems magically convinced within the invisible walls of the internet. It, but victims' distress is still very real. Yeah, and Coward was glib about appearing on the case board, but admitted that she was distressed by the image, and paranoia over the threat she's received is seeping into her daily life too. Frankly, I don't want somebody like this to get death threats. I believe that she's gotten death threats. But the thing is that I don't think that she believes that the people she's talking about have gotten death threats, and that's part of my problem with people like her. She thinks that she's fighting the good fight when she's not, and she's getting paid quite well by Homeland Security to quote unquote fight the good fight. These people are related to satanic panic shit in ways that they don't want to hear about. I was very convinced someone was following me home the other day, she said, referring to a driver whose car happened to mimic her route on our drive home. That sometimes happens just in real life. It just happens. One of her kids was in the car with her, and that's why she suddenly led them on a different route home to shake their possible pursuer. Clearly, nobody's following me home, she said with frustration. But in the moment, she was convinced, and spread of the lies and barrage of death threats was very, very real. I am not going to feel bad for her paranoia. I will feel bad for her getting death threats, but not the paranoia. Cowart was generally frustrated at how the video game industry seems to have learned so little from the events of Gamergate in 2014. Guess what? We have learned from those events. And that's why this is not going the way that you think it should go, you moron. But there was one major turning point from that year that seems to be regularly forgotten. Game studios did begin speaking up about online harassment, and the first large one was Blizzard Entertainment. There's bitter irony in that fact, given the allegations later made in a settled lawsuit filed by California regulators. And here's the thing: the people who speak up about this sort of shit, the people who are the loudest, is often need to be looked at themselves. Yes. Loki says, I hope this crazy person has a happy and healthy life in another job. Yes, I wish no actual ill on them, other than I wish for them to stop talking in our space because they are a moron. There's a bitter irony okay, but when studio co-founder Mike Morhaime and addressed the crowd at the opening ceremony for BlizzCon 2014, he gave the most prominent condemnation of Gamergate seen by that point. And shouldn't this be a wake-up call to everybody that one of the most prominent condemnations of Gamergate came from Blizzard? Came from people that we found out were scumbags. Shouldn't that be something that we should take notice of? I've known gamers who have said that it really sucks what they've seen from what happened at Blizzard because they like playing their games, but they refuse to give them any more of their money. Gamers are pissed off by what Blizzard has done with the sexual harassment and abuse. But gamers are these terrible people, right? Gamers would never boycott a studio over issues like that, right? Yeah. Anyway, continuing. Over the last couple of months, a small group of people have been doing really awful things. You mean the people inside your company? They've been making some people's lives miserable, and they're tarnishing our reputation as gamers. Again, the people inside your own company. He said. Cheers erupted from the crowd. From the crowd erupted as he proclaimed, "It's not right! Virtue signal! Ho!" Morhaime's words were unspecific, a little late, and maybe flawed. Tarnishing the reputation of gamers is low on the list of harm rendered by Gamergate's proponents. A lot of us don't like our reputation being tarnished. But the company deserves credit for weighing in at a moment when other studios remained silent. especially when it had not been a direct target. In the months before, many major outlets had failed to cover the ongoing campaign, successfully blitzed by bad faith arguments about ethics in games journalism. Today, that phrase is a punchline. For 3 months, it was a sneering cover for death threats and harassment. This really is funny. Blizzard didn't end or even slow down Gamergate, but merely calling out the actions of a small group of people and saying it's not right showed how isolated and ill-motivated the campaign was. Again, you're using Blizzard as your white knight. What the hell? Even you admit that they were terrible people. The number of people watching the opening ceremony and cheering at his words may very well have outnumbered Gamergate's rabid enforcers. Why did Morhaime choose to speak up? Because he had to virtue signal, because he probably knew what was going on in his own company and wanted to steer people away from looking at them. Maybe he thought, as Coward did, that that allowing harassment to thrive in game communities is bad for business. She shared data in another game developer conference session indicating that 6 out of 10 players say they'll play a game if it has a better reputation, and 6 out of 10 players won't spend money on a game if there are higher rates of toxicity. And that's interesting. I'd like to see those actual studies. Let's see what the actual questions are. Do they just say toxicity, or do they explain what they mean by toxicity? Because some of us would actually see the DEI shit in it as toxicity. With the game company about to reveal existence of Overwatch, maybe there was an effort to embrace the game's hopeful tone and press against online toxicity. Or maybe he recognized what Coward's research has borne out, that such groups prey on isolated, vulnerable individuals. And as a speaker on a massive stage at Blizzard's flagship event, he can make a real difference. Hopefully, other leaders come to the same realization today. Hopefully, other leaders that have big problems in their own companies and want to draw attention away from or to them should make similar statements. Yeah. For now, Coward urges developers to seek resources in their company if they're being harassed. And if those aren't available, Take This has prepared some that may help those affected by harassment and death threats through a dark moment. Disclaimer: the organizers of GDC provided additional security for the author of this piece while leading a session named GDC 101, following the publication of our earlier story on the harassment facing Sweet Baby Inc. Game Developer and Game Developers Conference are sibling organizations. I see why they kept bringing up Game Developer Conference. Okay, this is a thing at Take This. Oh, okay, it's not very long. So this is supposed to be responding to Gamergate 2. I have got no idea what this is, but let's just read this quickly. If you're reading this, you've probably been hearing about what's now being called Gamergate 2. Call it Gamergate 2.0, bitch. It's the latest targeted harassment campaign within the game industry, and it's aimed at Sweet Baby Inc. Oh, it's not just aimed at them. They're just a poster child for it. Black girl gamers and all of their ilk is what this is aimed at. So take this. You might want to use some of that money, some of that sweet Homeland Security money, and actually try to be a little accurate. The campaign has also been impacting entities in games associated with Sweet Baby, journalists covering the issues, and others associated in various ways with their targets. You may also be at a loss to know how to talk about this issue and what, if anything, you can do about it. That's where we come in. Discord, Steam, and X have been the predominant platforms where the abuse and harassment has been taking place. In these spaces, lists of game studios, companies, and associated organizations are being circulated for targeting by members of the mob. large-scale harassment campaigns like this fuel and are fueled by political events. As political rhetoric heats up ahead of the U.S. presidential election later this year, this kind of online activity is going to ramp up. And it's important to understand that these phenomena are interrelated. Yes, because we all know that Gamergate elected Trump. I mean, it was so horrible. So horrible. The most horrible thing that ever happened to the United States. The Trump got elected. I mean, we're still alive. We're fine. I'm more concerned about what happened after Trump, but whatever. Large scale harassment. Okay, as scholars and journalists. Okay, I'm going to call this as it is. As scholars and journalists have noted, the targeted harassment, hate, and cultural norms that were at the heart of Gamergate in the mid 2010s never went away. That's somewhat true because the anti-Gamergate people never went away. People in game spaces, especially marginalized developers and content creators, face hate and harassment daily. In fact, research conducted by Take This has outlined an entire spectrum of typology of extremism and dark participation in games that is bigger than any one movement, but underlies all of them. It can be scary or uncomfortable to think about, to talk about, to understand. In overwhelming situations, it's not unusual to feel at a loss or to have thoughts of helplessness, but there are things we can do to mitigate the harm. Okay, I'm thinking I might start focusing on this Take This group because it looks like they may be trying to actually insert themselves into the community for everyone. It's important. It's extremely important to speak out and step up for folks who are being harmed. This kind of support can take on many different forms. This could be an email or a quick check-in with the people in your orbit who are targets of the harassment or are close to those targets. Family members, colleagues, and friends of those targeted also experience different types of harm in these situations because, gamers harm people. Yes. And they often need help filtering messages, dealing with threats, and maintaining their mental well-being. Stop being anti-gamer. All there is to it. People of marginalized identities often already have some of these tools in place out of historical necessity, but the volume of large campaigns like this can quickly become overwhelming. The Still Relevant Games Hotline website hosts a digital safety guide that can support people experiencing or at risk of experiencing targeted harassment. For industry leaders, you may be inclined to be quiet or cautious, but that's actually not helpful. As noted in our research, empowering the game industry, a major lesson learned from Gamergate was the importance of taking a loud, public stance. At the time, many studios were hesitant to address the hate and abuse from Gamergate in any meaningful way. But you should follow the example of Blizzard and speak out. That particularly toxic company. The reasons varied, but usually this hesitation was born out of fear of losing profits or concern that taking a stance would attract the attention of the Gamergate mob. Okay. Okay, then. The thinking went, we want to protect our community from Gamergate. So by being silent, we will avoid the pro Gamergate crowd to our forums and into our community. However, the failure to take a stand and clearly communicate with the community backfired. Without an explicit statement from the studio that toxic, misogynistic behavior was not welcome, the studio found that pro Gamergate individuals assumed the studio's game was a safe space for them to build a community. We need to drive out those bad gamers. How dare they be here and enjoy games? In other words, failure to clearly and unequivocally denounce Gamergate and the harassment and abuse done in its name created a space for that hate and abuse to flourish, spread, and become normalized. Hate, harassment, and toxic behavior have no place in games. By taking direct, targeted action in a timely manner, we can mitigate further harm to talented, dedicated folks in games and help prevent additional recurrences of these harmful events. Yeah, GamerGate 2.0. Let's get it done right this time. Let's take this, that they can shove it. And honestly, you, you, yeah, I'm going to bring this back up here, Niche Gamer. I want to end it on this because I mistakenly went after them last night. As far as I can see here, they are not bending the knee. And I'm going to call Niche Gamer actual games journalists, which is a rare compliment for me because I typically call games journalists game journalists. But Niche Gamer, they just reported, honestly, they reported things in this that are probably going to get them in trouble. And that's what a journalist should do. And in here, they didn't tell us what to think. They laid out the facts. They didn't tell us that Black Girl Gamers is the worst thing ever. They didn't tell us that it was the best thing ever. They laid out what Black Girl Gamers said. They laid out what that parkplace.com said. And they said, and they laid out what Grums said, Mark Kearns. They acted like an actual journalist, and they get credit for me. I retract my attack on them, and I'm going to publicly do so on Twitter momentarily. So thank you guys for coming and watching. I know I had a good time. I hope you guys is found it interesting as well. So yeah, and I will be ending this momentarily. Have a good day, and I will be playing some more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth pretty soon. And just one last thing. No, Loki, they did not get me.